Welcome everyone to the Mega Caps video for this week, August 20th, 2024. As usual, starting off with Mag 7, first up Apple, which has stretched a little bit higher in this move up off of the August low, now slightly exceeding that prior high made at the start of the month and testing the 764 retrace at about 227. This, therefore, is likely the last opportunity for the red count, a corrective B wave bounce off that August low to hold and turn back down on the C wave, and I would want to see at least a break back below the 50-day moving average to consider a top maybe in place, and prices trying to follow that path, so back below 218. Otherwise, past the 764 retrace here, and the further price exceeds that resistance, the more and more likely the resulting higher high in the blue count as the wave 5 of C, and that has the potential to still head to that 248 fib target. Moving on to Microsoft. Price has continued to reach a little bit higher here as well in this bounce off of the August low. In this case, though, it's just now reaching the middle of fib resistance for the bearish potential in red, a B wave bounce. So nothing really to suggest that that B wave doesn't still have a reasonable probability, even if we did see it continue to stretch even higher than this up to the next fib resistance, that 618 retrace at 435. Blue count, the bullish option to head to a higher high, is on the table as well. It should be as a larger impulse. So this would likely still be the wave 1 of that blue fifth. So even if following that bullish count, we still have the potential for a pullback from around that 618 retrace region as the wave 205. Next up on Google. It's been one of the weaker bounces among the Mag 7 charts. It therefore is, I think, still very consistent with the expectation that it is just going to be a corrective B wave in this case. Price now reaching the lower end of standard fib resistance of 382 retrace, so technically this is enough upside for that B wave to be considered satisfied or complete, but room to reach higher if needed. 50% retrace at 172.35 would be the next fib resistance. Moving on to Amazon. Price approaching the 618 retrace in this case, which also is being treated as a B wave bounce until proven otherwise. It does look incomplete, though, with the subwave structure for that wave C. In fact, actually could even get a little bit higher in the wave 3 before 4-5. So I see the potential that even as a B wave, it does end up exceeding that 618 retrace, and the 764 fib at 188.20 would then be, the ideal limit for that B wave. Moving on to Meta. Price has not yet printed a higher high, but got very close to doing so. And therefore, although still valid as the blue B wave, is, somewhat tentative, or at least or skeptical, or at least somewhat tentative as that expectation. Even though it's still a corrective looking structure off the July low, because it came almost to a full 100% retrace of the drop from the July high, coming close to retesting that July high, the bullish potential in red that does result in a higher high and extension of that wave 5 is definitely still on the table. Would want to see at least a break back below the moving averages here in the 500-490 region to put the blue count back on track. Next up on Netflix, which ended up getting a higher high today compared to the previous July high. Usually in the start to a larger correction, I shy away from counting higher highs as a B wave have been expanded flat. So hold on, let me clean this up. There we go. So to me, this looks more like it is an extension of the blue wave 1 to the red A wave, and it actually makes it, I think, count potentially better as an ABC structure off the 2022 low as well. So that just kind of changes the blue count to a diagonal rather than an impulse. So for 5 waves up off of the October low is that C wave. The pullback into the August low is wave 4 of C, and wave 5 of C has the potential to reach higher. Standard fib target based in the size of the rest of the structure would be 807. Moving on to Tesla, although price has made some decent progress in this move up off of the August low, it is still just a 3-wave structure. So what we want to see to further improve the probability that price completed a corrective B wave pullback into that August low and is trying to turn up in the start to a C wave is 5 waves up as wave 1 of C, which does look like if we're going to get 5 up, it likely would be his leading diagonal structure, so we need a 4-5 to finish that leading diagonal. Moving on to Nvidia, even though price came all the way up to the 764 retrace, which was a target suggested for this B wave, there wasn't really a clear way for consolidation along the way. Yes, possible. Maybe a very shallow, short-lived wave 4 was somewhere back in one of these pullbacks last week, but hard to rely on that until price proves that by turning down and breaking support for otherwise a wave 4 if this is still just an extension of the wave 3. So ideally, we at least get a more sizable wave 4 correction. If it is going to try for another higher high after that, as that wave 5 of C in blue, 122.50 to 118 would be retrace support ideal to hold if it does pull back from here and it is a wave 4. AMD has made some nice progress higher as well. It's kind of outperformed so far this week compared to some other semis. It has now reached the minimum expected target for this bounce as that blue B wave, the 382 retrace, but has room to still reach higher. We could even kind of consider a similar subwave structure here, where maybe we need a 4-5 in the C wave, and that could take it to the next fib resistance, that 50% retrace at 166.40. PFE, we have a pretty clear 3-wave bounce off the April low into the July high that hit an exact measured move fib for a C wave that I think fits the larger structure pretty well as wave 4 of C. So as long as price is trading below the July high, the potential for another lower low here is wave 5 of C before a more significant and sustainable bottom is put in place. And under that expectation, price can be working on the wave 1-2 start to that C wave. This looks like the A wave up of wave 2 so far. And to wrap it up, our oil and gas majors. First up, XOM, which continues to, at least compared to CVX, hold up much better. In comparison, still trading above the June low, and still the potential that the corrective wave 2 pullback from the April high completed into that June low, and price is just working on an initial A, B, and starts to a larger A wave within wave 3 of that ending diagonal fifth. So at least getting a wider flat as the B wave, though, and the 50% to 618 retrace there ideally will hold if it is going to maintain that potential. This A wave should be right there. 113.90 to 112.50 as that 50 and 618 retrace support ideal to hold. CVX, as mentioned, has been much weaker recently. Not only did price break back below that June low, but it even came back to retest the previous low made earlier this year. So that looks more consistent with the bigger primary degree wave 4 correction going all the way back to the June 2022 high, not yet complete. And this is just a slight extension of the C wave. And based on that expectation, the current bounce off the August low could just be wave 4 of C within the fifth, and we potentially could still see one more lower low to anywhere between 140 and 130 before trying to turn up again. Otherwise, above 152, that would start to favor a bottom in place. All right, all I had for today's video. See you all again next time.